All right, we're back live at the Global Podcast Studios headquarters here in Atlanta, Georgia. Rich Casanova on this side of the microphone, but we got a special guest returning in the studio, none other than Mr. Dewayne Hart, the author, publisher of the world-acclaimed, you can get a copy anywhere on the planet these days, right? It's the Cybersecurity Mindset, the book. And he's been doing quite a bang-up job here in the studio for the Cybersecurity Mindset podcast. And it's been our pleasure to host those shows and having him as a host himself. But today, we're kind of turning the microphones a bit, and we're going to ask the man of the hour some questions, the expert. And today's topic is cybersecurity remote workforce. So we were talking before the show, back in the day, I mean, pretty much people went 8 to 5, the factory, the office, and they clocked out, right? And we didn't even have the internet, much less like people working remotely would, right? So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, what I can say for sure, if you're a remote worker and you're listening to this,
right?
You can do it, but you can't charge hours.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So you have the right as a remote worker to listen to this interview. So when we think about these remote workers, you know, it always come to attention as to how did this even happen?
Right.
Because about 30 years ago, everybody was walking into an office.
Yep.
Right? And nobody really took their computers home.
Well, we didn't really almost have the internet 30 years ago.
Right.
It was just the dial-up, and people weren't really, a lot of people hadn't had a home, didn't have laptops and all that technology. Yeah.
Yes. 28K modem,
right?
So
exactly.
So we know what
insert the sound effect of the machine going. Yeah.
Right. So like throughout history, there was a need for a remote workforce because a lot of companies were small,
right?
And so they had workers that were displaced all over the U.S.
Yeah,
with no offices,
right?
And then the trend of remote workers grew. Now the government kind of took on board the idea of remote workers about 5, maybe 6 years ago, because if you think about the government contracting space, they don't have room to put all the contractors in the building.
Right.
So contractors are either going to work at their company's office,
right, or
these contractors are going to be working at home.
Yeah. So what are some of the problems that are challenges that happens for companies with their employees not being on site?
Well, some of the problems is that it's more people going through the process of learning to work at home.
Right.
Because when you're at home, you may think that you're not at work and you go watch the news, you go watch the television,
right,
and you forget about that you have a laptop over here.
Yeah.
And then if you're working at home, you're also trying to babysit. All right.
Right.
And also, too, you have to make sure that your laptop is in a secure place, because you just can't have your laptop sitting in the kitchen with the windows open. Right?
Why?
Because there's vital information that is on that laptop for that company that you work for.
Yeah.
Email.
Oh, okay, right.
And if you're working
files
right. And if you're working in IT, there's a lot of information shared about networks like IP addresses and current issues. Now, if your painter is a hacker and if he's walking past the window and you are sitting at the table, or if you decide to go upstairs to actually watch the replays from Sunday's NFL game, he can look through the window and actually gain a lot of information.
Yeah, just a quick snapshot.
Right. So what you have to do as a person is to think about physical protection. And I make a discussion about physical protection because in cybersecurity, the premises is to increase protection and lower risk. So if you expose that laptop monitor to your painter, which is outside the window, you just defeated that concept. All right.
Yeah, just jeopardize the whole situation. And as you were mentioning that, I was thinking in my mind too, in terms of everything being done at the office was as secure as the company, to the extent that they would make it happen, right? Some companies more than others, but most companies would have their dedicated servers, their dedicated Wi-Fi network, as many protocols, some, again, very intense, some others not so much. But now you're just arbitrarily sending this person home, and with many times would be the company laptop, but all of a sudden they're on their house Wi-Fi, right? And then when they're on their company laptop at home or traveling, then they don't intend to, but like, let me just do this Amazon real quick, right? Let me just do Facebook or social media real quick. I mean, you just open the Pandora's box, right?
Yes, you do. But I think a lot of companies have certain type of parameters in place. There are certain companies that are still using Ethernet cables, right, but state that you cannot use Wi-Fi. Okay.
In theory, on paper, and then whether the employee does it or not. But also, I would, in many cases of companies, that's your role, is to kind of educate them on cybersecurity, those challenges. A lot of companies just figure like, well, they're on the internet. It's a secured website, HTTPS, we're good to go.
Well, you know that there are type of controls on these laptops where you can't use Wi-Fi.
Oh, really?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. If a company can set those type of controls,
okay,
so that an individual has to use Ethernet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now,
or they could block certain sites regardless of what internet connection they have.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Now the other feature too.
I feel like I just got smarter all of a sudden. Yeah.
Now the other feature too is that a lot of organizations use VPNs.
Okay.
VPN is called a virtual private network. So you kind of think of a system that is publicly accessible,
right? But
also too is a private network,
kind of locked down just for that user,
right?
Okay.
So if it's a private network, so that means that the only people that can access that network are the endpoints or users that are working for that organization,
right?
So when you have a VPN, see, it makes it a little bit more secure.
Yep.
So like organizations are going to that standard. And also too, prior to employees going home, there's a teleworking policy that has to be signed.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay. And see, those teleworking policy states that, well, you're not supposed to download certain information, that you're supposed to protect that endpoint device. If it's a laptop, if your company states that you're supposed to have it on a lock.
Right. And you don't, there's going to be penalties, or you're going to be liable to some extent, right?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I know we got a lot of other ground to cover. So I know you wanted to talk about, like, we've been talking about like the early days of the workforce, and then on occasion, some companies would send people home. But now this worldwide epidemic situation basically sent almost everybody home, right? And could you think companies could handle that magnitude? And what have been some, challenges or problems with this worldwide at-home policy that none of us expected or anticipated?
COVID-19 was a test for technology.
Well, wow, yeah.
Okay, it was a serious test.
Right.
Now, some of the problems were that it was ad hoc.
Yeah.
When I speak of ad hoc, I am talking about that certain organization did not have a plan in place. It just stated, okay, you need to go work from home.
Right.
Then these companies,
we'll figure it out later.
Then these companies were working to bring the infrastructure on board.
Right.
All right. And then also too, some of the other issues is that organizations were supposed to have a disaster recovery plan,
right?
Where it states, okay, if it's an emergency,
right,
and if I have to displace my workers,
right,
this is the way we're going to make it happen.
Right.
But a lot of organizations did not have a disaster recovery plan, and now certain organizations are still struggling and trying to figure out how to deal with remote working because the infrastructure changes.
Right.
And, some of them have also went to cloud services.
Right.
One of the key aspects of this entire remote workforce is that companies and people have to transform their mindset.
Yeah.
That's a section in my book called the Cybersecurity Mindset,
yep,
where where I talk about business transformation and also digital modernization, because business transformation means that you have to transform the way you do business to optimize and to improve the way you deliver service. When it comes to digital modernization, this is onboarding brand new technologies.
Right.
And this is where teleworking comes to play a significant factor.
Right.
So to all my readers, or if you're in the process of purchasing the cybersecurity mindset, under the section called Transforming the Mindset, I am doing a deep dive discussion into COVID-19 and the remote workforce and some of the challenges and having those disaster recovery plans in place.
And on the flip side, obviously, we've seen many stories of silver linings. I don't know if you had a story maybe you had in mind, but there's many stories of the silver lining situation that came out of COVID-19, as well as a lot of opportunities for companies for expansion. But also, it forced them to fast track what would probably have taken years or a decade to get those protocols in place in order to allow individuals more flexibility in their work, their family life, and so forth. Right. But in this case, they had to make it happen. You know, they were on the cybersecurity creek without a paddle, right?
Well, that was life and balance.
Right. Yeah.
Because it gave the opportunity of workers to work from house.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the other factor too is that one of the benefits of it was that it allowed organization to hire people in remote locations. Because if you're in the city of Atlanta,
right,
which you should be able to find talent,
right,
and if you don't have talent here, and if you can go remote and find someone in New York,
right,
then it helps out. See, now that's the benefit of this remote workforce.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside to it, right? They just have to be cautious and, like you said, have that mindset. And on, in tandem with that is a lot of opportunities for individuals that were by necessity had to be at their corporate headquarters, right, in one central location. Now the floodgates open and allowed those families to maybe return to their hometown, to maybe take care of an elderly parent that didn't want to move or relocate, kids that had empty nesters, kids that moved off to college or whatever. So these families were spread across the country. It allowed them to kind of move to a city maybe that was more affordable for them, that was more reasonable, a better lifestyle, but still to get the same amount of work done, right?
Right. Excellent.
Yeah.
But also, too, I want to bring a point up is that this was a phase to test cybersecurity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Because I always talk about the fact is that when you find risk and you find problems, that's an opportunity for success. Imagine if something became very critical that lasted for 10 years. Okay. Now what happens is the cybersecurity community and corporations have an understanding of how cybersecurity operates in the remote workforce.
Yeah. In this new world.
Right.
We're in. So it's funny you mentioned this idea of testing. The pandemic gave us opportunity to kind of test the cybersecurity and the workforce and also IT. So just speaking in terms of the U.S. and companies that you may have engaged with or you're familiar with, just your best guess, how did you think we passed that test? What grade would you give us for the average company that had to deal with this virtually overnight?
I would say a C+.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
How
could they have gotten to an A? What did they miss out? What was the missed things that they weren't aware of or didn't take action on?
Planning.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Planning. Because you don't want to operate in an emergency mode, because when you operate in that emergency mode, you are more proactive than you are more reactive than you're proactive.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure I straighten that out right there.
And also no one could have predicted this exact contingency, but you had to consider the what if. I mean, even to I've listened to a couple of podcasts talking about issues of FEMA and a natural disaster that hits your headquarters. You have to have a blueprint what's our plan B, right? If everything shuts down our headquarters, and that would involve basically outsourcing to other people in other parts of the country.
Yeah. So that means the organization should be testing their remote
capabilities
and programs at least twice a year.
Okay.
Simulate a pandemic and tell someone that they have to go home and work.
Right.
Okay. Simulate it and put it to test.
Yeah. Because now then you can improve that C+ to an A. Yes. So I know you have a teaser coming up here and you have some exciting news. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we pivot to some exciting news about the cybersecurity remote workforce? Or
everyone is probably going back to work. Most people don't want to go back to work.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's a yin and yang thing, right? Because you miss the socialization, you miss the water cooler talk and grabbing coffee, but you do find yourself more productive, less distracted, and more freedom.
Yes. Take your learning back to your companies when it comes to technology, because that's part of the transformational thinking. Is that on the transformational thinking? I said it again. Business transformation and digital modernization are two factors that drive transformational thinking, because we're in an age now where the remote workforce probably is going to be needed more than ever.
Yeah, it's a reality. And if you're not on that boat, you're going to get left at shore or whatever, right?
Oh, wow. That cybersecurity
boat.
Well, no, I thought about the Navy.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's called UA.
Right. Yeah. So before we get too much tangent, so I know it's been a pleasure having you here in the Global Podcast Studios, and I know you have some exciting news about your podcast coming up. So let's get the cat out of the bag and talk to me, Dewayne. What's cooking?
I am going to miss everyone. I'm going to miss you all.
Yeah.
But you know what? I will be back again. And the reason I'm going to miss everyone because this is the final episode for like season 2.
Yeah.
When I started season 1, it was the groundwork to branch into cybersecurity.
Yep.
I took season 2 and explained how to execute cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And, going into season 2, there was an interview we actually had, and it was on children's online safety.
Right.
And talk about digital parenting.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you a little teaser, because in season 3, I want to do a live screen session with just parents on children's online safety.
I think that'll be big. Just some Q&A, some interaction, education. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? Throughout my podcast sessions, I always try to engage my audience and to deliver content that I think would be very useful. And all the success has been done. And to all my listeners and all my readers of the Cybersecurity Mindset, I really appreciate the feedback that I receive on LinkedIn, also on Facebook. But I also challenge you to take my information and share it with 10 people and tell 10 people to share it with 10 more people, because the Cybersecurity Mindset is a brand.
Yeah.
A brand.
Yep.
Just like Facebook is being talked about, I want the Cybersecurity Mindset to actually become the talk of the town. So now in season 3, I am going to upscale things a little bit.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
And I am going to be looking for some influential people.
Okay.
That can drive cybersecurity and to have a discussion. I am going to be doing training, because there are individuals that are involved with the CISSP training, with the Security Plus training. I am going to have maybe a 2-part, 3-part, or probably a 4-part series on a familiar topic from those 2 certification pipelines.
Okay.
And also, too, I am going to be talking about relevant topics out there.
Okay.
Okay. Because Because season 3 is about making a difference now.
Okay, nice.
Okay, because season 1 was about, I want you to learn about cybersecurity.
Yeah, the groundwork.
Right.
Yeah.
And season 2 is about executing cybersecurity, where season 3, we want to make a difference now.
Nice.
And, we're going to carry the cybersecurity mindset over because it can't leave us.
Right.
It is a brand. It's going to be a part of us. It's going to be the talk of the town. So I'm still going to express a lot of great gratitude to all my readers out there for purchasing the cybersecurity mindset, and share it with 10 more people and have your friends to purchase a copy. And second is that I want to have fun.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have fun. Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a part of season 3 with me?
Done. I'm gonna camp out here overnight and wait till we kick that off. Whatever. Yeah.
Okay, then. All right, then. So let's get it started. I will definitely post information out on season 3, but also too, go to my YouTube channel because live streaming is about ready to occur, and we're gonna have fun.
And so we talked about for the show. So you have the book, you have the podcast, the YouTube channel. So what's one domain name or website you could direct people where they could find those links?
www.DewayneHart.com. That is spelled DewayneHart.com.
Nice.
That is my website. It's newly branded too.
Sweet. You're putting the heart in cybersecurity. All right, sir. Well, we'll see you on the other side of the microphone next, and with an exciting episode or season 3 coming up. If you haven't checked out the other series or seasons, that's all right there at DewayneHart.com, and we'll see you next time.